like that. Found a little weed edge, and I'm just skirting the outside. 1/2 ounce Berkeley snap jig and a 4-inch gulp forktail minnow. Picking up some Manitoba Gold. Tried to do this yesterday. Yesterday was like a prime example of when this is a really good tactic. Flat, calm, hot, deep rocks, provoking a reaction strike out of these things. It's one of my favorite bites in the world. Fish a jigging wrap a lot, you know, glide bait style lures, but given that we're fishing in proximity to weeds, it's kind of hard to fish those baits with all the hooks on them. So this single hook jig head flies through the weeds pretty darn good. Smacked on a long cast, feathering the edge of the weeds. I absolutely love this reel for this type of fishing, especially in the kayak. It's a high gear ratio spinning reel. So like if the wind's blowing you into a spot, not only can you backpedal like I'm doing right now, but this reel allows you to pick up a lot more line. Stay tight on the fish. Oh, buddy. There we go. I switched to a 3/8 ounce because we're fishing pretty shallow. I'm in 13 feet, casting up to about 6'8" where those weeds are. And those fish are in the weeds, and a lot of times they're hitting it in the first couple pops of the cast, which is a lot of fun. And you can see working this bait is as simple as letting it hit bottom and just giving it a snap. And there's a fin on that jig that allows it to glide, so it hangs in the air a long time, and it looks like a dying bait fish, and just triggers something in fish. Even if they're being finicky, they just can't let it get away, and they'll whack it. I'm using a 7-foot medium power rod here, and that just kind of takes some of the fatigue out of it, because you're going to be doing this all day, working that shoulder, working that elbow, working that wrist. So a stiffer rod just makes it easier to pop that jig off bottom, and stiff rod like that's pretty darn sensitive without being too noodly, so you can feel everything. You can feel exactly when I hit bottom. I can feel what kind of bottom I'm on. I like kind of fishing it around hard bottom for the most part, but again, this is pretty effective in weeds. And then I got 10-pound braid spider wire here and a 12-pound fluorocarbon leader, and that's kind of on the safe side for pike's sake. You can get quite a bit of durability out of 12-pound fluorocarbon. You know, a lot of this is just feeling and letting that jig fall on a tight line, basically. So I'm just like kind of letting the jig head take me down to bottom. The weeds right there. And they hit it on the fall, and like your line will just light up. Just dunk. I swear you can hear it. It's one of my favorite things ever. And of course, we're in Canada, and Manitoba, you can't use live minnows. So if you bring yourself up a pack of gulp minnows, they got a lot of scent, a lot of action, really good colors on them, just as good as the real thing, really. You know, one thing I've noticed over the last couple days is a jig head and a salted shiner is what a lot of guys are using, catching fish, but these fish are so finicky, you literally have to have it within like a couple inches of bottom, and they'll pick it up and they'll chew on it for like 5 seconds, and like you'll set the hook before that and the minnow's gone. They're just not eating it all real quickly. The thing about this, one bite, it's like down the hatch, as you've seen. So they're not messing around with this one. Like, you're not just digging into the minnow bucket or the minnow container consistently. Once you get a crack, they got it down the gullet. Especially important, again, with barbless hooks. The deeper you can get that hook down there, the better off you are at getting that fish to the kayak. So it's kind of one thing I've noticed about this versus live bait / dead bait, the real thing, is that they are eating this. Another thing too is, if you're bringing electronics, which I highly recommend on a Canadian trip, don't come up here without a Zero Lines card. And a Zero Lines card is basically a SD card that you can put in your Humminbird HELIX to draw custom maps. So pretty much everywhere I've been going, I've had AutoChart on. I'm drawing a map as I go along. And so I can kind of see when things are starting to rise up, and it seems like any little knob that comes out of like a large flat just has fish on it. So I'll be looking out and, ooh, I hammered it. Come on, baby. This might be a pike. Oh, no. Not only that, ooh, yeah, foul hooked a pike somehow. That's not awkward. Not only that, once I find fish or find a spot, I've got waypoints and tracks. Tracks are super important. This is a large, expansive, complex lake with a lot of islands and narrows and channels. And if you're venturing far away from the lodge, it's really a nice peace of mind knowing your way back, being able to follow that track wherever you've been, right back to where you started your origin at the lodge. So a small little Humminbird HELIX like this, so easy to pack in. We're powering them off Dakota lithium batteries, little 12 volt like ice fishing style batteries. And then we've just got these little portable transducer arms, and you can have your transducer right over the side of the kayak and be fishing very efficiently with electronics. So I found this piece of structure just by pedaling around, looking at my map, looking at the depths, and I smacked a waypoint on it, and that's right on top. And I don't want to be right on top fishing it. I want to be off the edge casting to it. So I put a waypoint on top, backed off, and now I'm casting to that waypoint. So I'm continually keeping myself at a decent distance away from that waypoint, kind of playing the wind. You know, you hook a fish and that fish will kind of pull you around a little bit. But I'm trying to keep that waypoint kind of within a cast length of either side of me. And that's making it pretty efficient to stay off the edge where the fish are and not on top of those fish. As I mentioned, this is a 7-foot medium power rod. It's a Fenwick HMX, and it's an ideal combo. A 7-foot medium, you can handle a lot of different techniques, a lot of different size fish. And then, as I mentioned with the reel, this is an Abu Garcia Revo Rocket, and most spinning reels are like, you know, 5 to 1 or 6 to 1. Well, this is like 7 point something to 1, just a little bit more line pickup per revolution of the reel. Smooth drag. It's a 30 size, so I get a long cast out of it, and that also just aids in that line pickup. Again, you can be kind of handicapped in a canoe or a kayak, getting pulled around. It's important to stay tight on those fish. And by keeping the line tight and picking up line, that's how you're going to do that.
Place is loaded with bait over here. This is a very healthy ecosystem.
So I just motored over here to a narrows. This eventually dumps into a river system. So this narrows is drawing current. I'm literally just letting the current take me in. Again, that's kind of an important thing. Oh, he's got it gobbled. Come here. Current concentrates fish. Look at that. That's what I'm saying. They just inhale it. So I'm letting the current kind of take me into this spot. And again, I'm able to keep my line tight even though I'm moving towards my bait constantly by controlling the pedal system, but by also picking up line with my reel. And there we go. Come to Canada, throw artificials, make a good map, explore, find places with current and weed edges and little humps that come out of nowhere, and you will catch fish. I've encountered quite a few fish ahead of me, so rather than drifting in with the current, I'm kind of backpedaling a little bit. and trying to hover kind of in one spot. That's the beauty of having a pedal system, is that by just subtly controlling that pedal system, you can hover in one spot. It's almost like, you know, spot lock, throwing an anchor out. You can just kind of, with minimal work, stay in one spot. So this is a really cool spot. As I mentioned, I kind of worked my way into the channel, and there's a decent amount of moving water in here. And to my right is a shallow weed flat. It's really cool. I think the channel is like 7 or 8 feet, maybe, kind of in the middle. And off to my right, there's kind of weeds lying down, and it's like 3-4 feet. And right on that edge, you would not believe how many walleyes are sitting in there. And in current, they love ambush and stuff. So when this thing is just kind of bombing through there parallel to that weed line, it's been lights out almost every cast. And so there we go. I'm just trying to stay back and whew, that one popped off. Just trying to stay back, and the current's pushing me this way. So I am pedaling backwards, kind of hovering in one spot, and kind of going through that 7-8 foot channel. Every once in a while I'll go up over like 4 or 5 feet, and there's fish in there too. Oh, that's the thing about this, is like, if you feel something just a little off, it's likely a fish. Sometimes they'll hit it right on bottom. The bite with baits like this is like lightning. And that's why I love doing it so much. Catch a fish, slide that barbless hook off, right back out there. A couple pops and you already got another one on the line. And see, right now, I'm at the end of my cast. So I'm just gonna use the pedal system to keep this retrieve going, keeping the bait in the water as long as possible. Kind of coming up on this 5 foot lip again. Ooh, come back, come back. I don't know how that thing missed it. Weeds and current on my, there we go. Come on, baby. Oh, that was a pale one. These fish are so gold and black. It's kind of unusual to see one that pale. I think I'm gonna continue the program of kind of just going slowly backwards and keeping that bait down there. We're going over that 4 foot hump right now, a little high spot. There's no weeds on it, so I can fish it pretty cleanly. Even if I get weeds, there we go. Even if I get weeds, I can snap this thing, stiff rod and braid, and literally just break free from the weeds. Oh, there's another one. Come on now. There we go. Right here over this 4 foot flat. Choked. Choked. It's only 4 or 5 feet deep here. My pliers, because he has gobbled it. And this is just so freaking simple. Just like that. And a nice Chiquita cutter. We're looking for 15s and 16s. Perfect shoreline fish. So we'll have shoreline here in a little bit. And I'm just going to cast back out again. See if another one, it's this 5 foot flat. Seems to be a lot more fish kind of up on top of this thing. Again, I'm paralleling a weed line, paralleling a current seam. Some of the walleye's favorite place to be. It's pretty fun, Tobe. Okay, this is just getting way too easy now, which I don't have a problem with. They all inhale it. They all inhale it. Look at this. Can you see the bait? Can you see the bait? Now you can see the bait. Keep my pliers handy, not only for smashing barbs, but for digging down into walleye gullets. Pulling my bait back out. Look at that. Walleyes are such aggressive predators. A lot of people think that you gotta drag a crawler, drag a minnow around, and if you put on a reaction style bait like this, they'll pop out of those weeds, and again, your rod will just light up on tight braid like that. Just letting the weight of the bait letting the weight of the bait fall to the bottom, bringing my rod tip. Oh, come on, my reel slipped, my hand slipped off the reel. It's wet from grabbing fish. Just missed 2 in a row.
Like I would just kind of, whenever you feel it touch bottom.
I don't know how many fish in a row this is, but come on. Let's get this one water skiing up. Little guy. 12-pound fluorocarbon's holding up. Whoop, slips right out. Look at this bait. Starting to get pretty mangled. Does not come off that conical keeper. So the bait itself stays on there really good, but the conical keeper on the jig head, I don't know how many fish I've caught on the same plastic, but it's lasting, still got good action, not falling off the shank of the hook, and just keeping me in fish cast after cast. What more can you ask for in that regard? Come on. Another nice one on the snap jig. Looks like I got a fish into the boat. Nice break with the current seam there. Just gonna hover in one spot and do it again. Gosh, they eat it good. There's a lot of fish here.